fact. That was.
No more room in hell. The dead will walk here.
What's up, everyone? It's Three Corners of Horror. I am Joe, the psychologist, and yeah, it's starting off a little different, and we have a new face here. So before I get to my brothers, I want to introduce the new guest co-host for tonight. She is an actor, writer, a dog lover, sushi lover. We'll talk about the fur baby later on. Oh yeah, no, I found out enough. So this is Bryn Berg. Bryn, welcome. Are you ready to talk about this movie?
I'm so ready. I'm really excited.
Nice. And next I got my baby brother here, the man, JR. I'm ready for you to talk about this one because you were texting me after you were done. So I'm interested to hear what you're going to say.
No, it's an interesting film. Was it one of M. Night Shyamalan's best, or was this just, I don't know, another old film?
Ooh. Well,
Rick.
Well, me and Joe liked old, so
I know. I was like,
okay. We weren't in love with it. But
well, no,
it wasn't terrible. It could have been better. That's all.
Yep. Well, this is the other M. Night fan here, Rick. As you know, we did Old. You can go check that one out.
That's old.
You ready for this one, Rick?
Yeah, I'm ready. Hey, man, you got the control today, man. I'm the one laying back. We all cheer for big bottles of beer. Everybody, thank you for being here. Salute.
I got water too, though.
Oh, what are you drinking, Bryn?
Herbal tea.
Oh. Are you sure? Because I just saw this video this morning about people who like blow into, they hang a tea bag and they're blowing into it, but it's actually alcohol.
Oh, no, you guys would know because I get really silly after I've had it. Yeah, you guys would have to stop the show because I would just say really silly things.
We don't stop the show.
It keeps going. All right, so I am a self-professed M. Night Shyamalan fan. I already did my review for this one, so you can check out my thoughts on it. I get the opportunity to sit back tonight and listen to you guys. I mean, I'll have something to say, but I get to hear somebody else's thought on this. And today we're going to be talking the 2023 Knock at the Cabin. Little fun fact for y'all. This movie was based on a book from Paul Tremblay, A Cabin at the End of the World. This movie is directed by M. Night Shyamalan. The movie stars Ben Aldridge as Andrew, Jonathan Groff as Eric, Nikki Amuka Bird, she plays Sabrina, Rupert Grint as Redmond, hello, Ron Weasley, Abby Quinn as Adrian, Dave Bautista. This was, for me, his first serious role, and it introduces Kristen Cui as Wen. So I wanted to make sure to mention the entire cast. It's something we generally don't do. We only name some standout people. But the reason I wanted to is because, at least for me, this movie was perfectly cast. So as our guest, Bryn, we're going to start with you. Let me know your thoughts on Leonard, Redmond, Adrian, and Sabrina. And if there was any standout scene from those individuals, same thing with you guys. When I get to you guys, let me know if there was any scene on them. Because like I said, we're doing the characters, but obviously if there's something in the movie that you guys really like, make sure to mention that. So Bryn, you first.
With Leonard, he was so, to me, he played, I'm picky, he played that role. He was so spot on because the first time when he approached Wen, I said, okay, this guy is a total creeper. And it just got creepier and creepier, but then you realize something else is going on. And then you see him as he's bullying, the whole family around, and he's talking complete nonsense. And you're just like, okay, yeah, this guy is totally off his rocker. And then just gradually you see his vulnerability unravel, and you see how hard it is for him to do all these things. And you also see how he's struggling with the fact that, yeah, it's crazy, the visions. And then he's basically at the end, he's defeated and he doesn't really have any other choice, and he just basically he's all, you know, he's out of everything, all of his tools to convince this family, and he just, you know, almost in a monotone way says, you know, you got to make a choice. And so like I said, I think he played that role so well, because you just saw like layers and layers and layers. Like even when he popped out of the shower, you're just, you saw he did not want to do that. And then with Redmond, you know, he played that role, I think, pretty spot on, because, and then he's also, okay, I feel so silly right now. He's in a series. It's on Apple TV.
Servant.
Thank you. Yeah. And
Also from M. Night.
right. And yeah. And so you see, like, it's so interesting. He really has a way of, especially in The Servant, you see that he, you know, he's a smuck. Yeah. He's, you know, probably not always honest in his job and all that, and drinks, but he wants to do you know, he wants to be ethical. But then, you know, in this role, you see that he is a person just completely full of hate and hurt. And it just, you can just see that internalizing so much. And when it was his time, you saw how incredibly vulnerable he was. It's just, you know, anytime a bully gets cornered, you know, that, because that's what bullies are. Bullies are, you know, they've been bullied, and hurt people. And then as far as like, you know, forgive me, the line cook, her name, what was her name again?
Adrian.
Yeah. Adrian. That was another, well, I love the way she played it, because you never knew what was up with her. You know, she was the one to me that came off as the looniest. And yeah, and I you know, I thought that, okay, this woman got sucked up. She's the one that you would see getting sucked up into a cult. But no, you see that she was doing all of that to save her, you know, what I felt is that she was doing all that to save her son. Yep. And yeah, that it was just gut-wrenching, because she knew she was never going to see her son again, but she wanted him to have a good life. And you know, they did say she was the nurturing one. And then the woman that I'm sorry, I'm so bad.
Sabrina.
Yes, thank you. The nurse. Yeah, that was another, she to me came off as another person who was, you know, she was probably manipulated into what I thought might have been a cult. I didn't know what these people were talking about at first. And, you know, being raised in a religion that was very cult-like-ish when I grew up, I'm always leery of, I'm always leery when you meet people, you know, when I meet people like that, just completely talking all kinds of nonsense. But at the same time, it's interesting, because the very best people still get pulled into cults. And I mean, I even watched a documentary about a man who was an entertainment lawyer, and he managed to get sucked into that cult with Osho. and he still to this day sticks by him, this phenomenal attorney. But anyways, I'm sorry, I'm going off subject, but yeah.
Wish.
That's what we do here. That's what we do.
Yeah, they happen
Okay.
to us all the time.
Okay.
It happens all
We're
the
known for that.
As you can tell, I have a fascination with cults.
Gosh, trust
Yeah.
me, you're in the right spot.
Yeah. Okay. So, but yeah, I was, I was like, okay, this is someone who maybe was, burn out as a nurse, and somebody got her at the most vulnerable, moment, because nurses were crazy hours. I mean, I saw it firsthand, like when my mom went into memory care, a lot of the nurses were working doubles. I'm like, how are you doing that? But yeah, I just thought maybe she was somebody who got burnt out or whatnot. But again, you saw her inner conflict so well, and you saw it. She was struggling. She wanted to do the right thing. She wanted, that was who she was. She was a nurse, but at the same time, she knew that these visions she saw, they were bigger than anything else, and she had to do the right thing. And it's really interesting, because I've done a few casting director workshops with the CD, Stephanie Holbrook, who's she's worked with M. Night Shyamalan, and she just said that his, like, how he works with actors is fascinating. Yeah, so I would love to.
It's a lot of reason why some of them come back for these movies.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Like, I thought you talk about scenes. I thought one of the most scenes that in this movie that really caught your attention was when they introduced themselves. So they were going by telling about, was it Redmond, basically the badass? He just wanted to get this over and done with. Adrian, with the whole thing about her, her child and stuff, and how she's a line cook. And I like that they did that, even to the point where, oh my God, I forgot his name, where he was like, why are you introducing us yourself? Yeah, he's like, why are you doing this, But I mean, who we're all going to talk about, basically, because let's go a couple weeks prior to this movie coming out. Dave Bautista came out and say he's done doing superhero action flicks, that he wants to be seen as a different type of actor. He wants to take more serious roles. He wants to be seen better than The Rock. Because that was one of the things people were talking about. Because The Rock, let's be honest, he's one character in every single
one-dimensional.
So I wouldn't even say one-dimensional, like half-dimensional.
Oh, man, he used to wear a wig, bro. Come on.
He won't even do. Yeah, you're right on that.
But Bautista, basically, he banked on this role to show people what he's capable of. And one thing, I'm sorry, if I see a dude that big and he's a teacher, you got my attention, dude. I'm not gonna, butt heads with you, man. I would open the door right away. I'll be like, all right, man, we cool. You want coffee? You hungry? Because as a big dude, but his role in this movie was very well done. I mean, I'm glad that out of the 4, he was the first they showed. Because if they would have showed him last, I don't think he would have carried the weight. The fact that he was the first to be shown and the last to go was kind of, really well. It was smart in this one. Yeah, his character was good. I agree with what Bryn's saying, how he came off as trying to be the nice guy, but if you don't open the door, I'm going to kick this in, and, you're going to suffer for it, to the point where you actually felt for him. And he was a genuine character, and you don't see that in too many films.
Especially in horror.
Yes. And you know me, I like character-driven story, line, horror movies. Redmond, good role. Adrian, good role. I wanted more from Sabrina. I would say that's the only thing, because you kind of got a little bit out of the other 3, but Sabrina, you feel like there was something left out of her character. Was it purposely done? But there was something with her character that was left out that I kind of wanted a little bit more of. But yeah, overall, great cast.
Batista was the standout for me. Leonard, I mean, Batista is the kind of guy that, like JR mentioned, that he's the first guy you see, and he's the big guy. He's the leader. Normally, the big guy is the muscle.
Yeah.
The you know, he don't say much. He's just there for a presence. But him being the teacher coming in here and just he played him so subtle and with so much tender. He could have took this role and just phoned it in. But the fact that, like JR mentioned, he don't want to take these action roles like that. Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin, when he was breaking into Hollywood, he started taking all these B movie type stuff, and he told Batista, if you're serious about Hollywood, don't take just any film. Don't do it. Pick your roles. Because Austin was never into Hollywood, but Batista wanted that future.
Yeah.
Blade Runner 2049, his role was very small, but that's the role that M. Night saw him in and decided, wow, this guy's good. He could play these tough characters, but with such emotion that, I mean, I can't really say much more that hasn't really been said about Leonard, but I'll get into it a little bit later, so I don't go on. But yeah, I love this character. The fact they made him the leader and the most like caring one of all of them, and like Bryn mentioned it too. Near the end, he was just defeated. He was tired. You know what? I'm done. You can see it on his face, and it's the subtle acting. Whether he takes a gulp or he's like his eyes twitching. Pay attention. You see these little subtle hints that he's really trying to make this character seem like a down-to-earth guy. Yeah, he's a big guy, but that's not who he is, And the scene with him and Wen, I'll get into that later too. Awesome. I think when you mentioned Joe, what's your standout scene? To me, the opening when he's slowly coming in. You see him in the distance, and he's walking towards window. Oh man! And then
I would have ran.
And then when he shakes your hand, and then M. Night purposely he shoots it where you see his big ass hand with tattoos and everything, and Wen's small hand. You may think, oh my god, this guy, he's evil, or no. He's not. He's really not. And then you can see him fighting with every decision that he makes, and not just him, the other three characters as well. So
I'll say if Ron Weasley shows up at my door now, he's not coming in. I can say that now. I will say the accent, he did awesome job with that accent. I mean, we're from Connecticut. We know where the Massachusetts, and I think it was either Worcester or I forgot exactly, but
where's my car?
He nailed that accent.
Let's go to the bar. Let's go to the bar.
You mentioned M. Night with the cinematography. So what I got in this, if you notice, there's a lot of scenes where you're seeing all of them, and it shows you just how big Bautista's body actually is. The more he keeps acting and showing vulnerability, you stop seeing how big he is, and all of a sudden his size, you see the inside. It's the small, he's the small man. He's a teacher. He loves, he cares.
Leadership.
He's not
that was
happy
his quality.
he's not happy about doing this. But he does such a good job in acting that he actually, for me, and I've seen this movie 3 times, minimized his actual body size. Like you just saw an average man speaking to this family and trying to hit their heart. So
I like it when one of the guys inside was like, "It's a big ass dude."
But yeah, no, so,
yeah, he is.
He's freaking huge. And if I would have seen him coming at me, if I would have ran. I mean, I would have been like, "Mom," or in this case, Dad, there's a really big motherfucker coming in right now. He is bigger than all 3 of us together. Like, lock everything. But all right, so I knew that you guys were gonna like Bautista. Like for me, when I saw this movie the first time in the theaters, and I'm so glad I went to see it in movies. But Bautista, fucking he along with one other person, I felt carried this movie. So this is gonna lead me to the next 3 other characters, because the 4 horsemen, as you guys said, they show up at the door. No discussion on the choice just yet, but they show up at the door to give this family a choice of what they have to do. And the family consists of Andrew, Eric, and Wen. Another perfect cast on these 3. I'm a huge fan of Jonathan Groff, Mindhunter. Like for me, that was when it showed that this kid can actually act. But Ben Aldridge, like literally voicing the way he spoke, the way he physically acted, he did an amazing job. So I'm curious to see how you guys feel. So Bryn, I'm going to go with you first. Your thoughts on Andrew, Eric, and Wen.
Well, first off, I'm a huge fan of Jonathan Groff as well, and I am still mourning the fact that Mindhunter isn't coming back.
I'm hopeful because it didn't get
Mm.
they didn't actually cancel it.
It's not
They
coming
didn't
back.
cancel it. So let's keep fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, the showrunners were saying that they were basically working like 80-hour weeks, but you know, I'm still hoping, because that was
Great show.
such a good show, and yeah, there was so much, that whole, you know, the way they left it. They're like that, you know, you're just like, that didn't solve anything, you know, and so. Yeah, and then I keep seeing like the master classes being offered from the guy that was the real Mind Hunter, and I'm almost like, I want to take it, because I just, so I can get a taste of Mind Hunter again, because I'm missing it so much. He's dealing with so much trauma because of it, that, you know, the whole thing with Redinger, and then they found out they had met before. That was
cool.
Crazy twist. I did not see that coming. So yeah, I mean, it's another, I think that was another really good depiction. And some viewers might have said, okay, well, you know, this guy, he's just not, he's just so close-minded and all that, but he wasn't. It was with him, it was simple. He was trying to protect his family. That's what he was doing. And I think we're definitely going to see a lot more of her. That was a very big role for someone her age. I didn't have time to, but I would love to look up and find out like who she's studied with, because she's so ahead of her time. And
I liked her a lot.
Yeah, she's so ahead of her time with her acting, and Eric, wow, he blew it out of the water as well. He was the one that was more open-minded, and kind of, you know, he always had a little bit of, I think he's one of those people that he might have a little bit of like ESP and intuition, and I think he was fighting that the whole time. I feel like he knew that these people were right, but at the same time, you protect your kids.
What's that word? Fight or flight, Joe?
Fight or flight.
That's
Fight
it.
or flight. And that's what Sabrina did. Hers kicked in. Sabrina, when she was like, I ain't dying, she chased after the guy. I know nobody mentioned it before, but yeah, with the scene with her, like when she went to stop him, that was fight or flight, and she was gonna fight because she did not want to die at that moment.
Yeah.
But finally, normally, Rick, you get to go to the end on this part.
I know.
You get to go first, Rick. You get to go first, Rick. So, Rick, what are your thoughts on these three characters?
I enjoyed them a lot. I loved the relationship between the three of them. It was so pure. It didn't feel like forced or anything like that. And that's just a consequence of like the great performances with all three. And then, of course, Wen being her debut film, surrounded in this one room with all these people yelling and screaming at each other, and I loved it. And the fact, Eric, he's open to everything, and Andrew is more of the guy that's like, no, there's an explanation for everything. What I liked about the film too, M. Night, when he crafted this, he put just enough like coincidences or like, like a lot of skepticism in the film, like with the fact that Andrew called out Leonard for constantly checking his watch, and like the news reports were old, it wasn't up to date, so everything could have been planned, but of course as you go along in the film that starts to unravel too. So I like the layers that keeps peeling off, and that doesn't work if these three characters, you don't like them or you don't care for them. Immediately you care for Wen, and then you care for her parents. It was great. I loved all three of these characters, and then whenever they were in danger, I fell for it. And the thing is, like, what I like too, like, okay, these four people come into your cabin, you're on vacation. yeah, you're gonna be like, what the fuck? These people are crazy. But then at the same time, you know, with the three, they're not really trying to listen. They're just trying to like, okay, no, they're bad. That's it. There's nothing else to this. But the fact that they weren't, and we found that out later, I love the way all the subtleties were handled in this film. Like whether it was the news reports that had one of the best M Night cameos of all time when he's selling air fryers. You know? So
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he always makes the best he always makes the best cameos. And yeah.
And the news reports too. Like look at Signs. So my favorite scene in Signs was with they saw the news report with the alien flashing through the birthday party. So I love that stuff, and it's scary. The shots with the airplanes falling down and the reactions to it. It's good stuff. And again, like I said, if Andrew, Eric, and Wen don't work, if you don't care for them, the film as a whole just collapses upon itself.
Well, Wen was the centerpiece of this whole movie because everything revolved around her. The fact that the four, remember when the first person, Redmond was the first one killed, they didn't want her to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they knew they were coming, they didn't want her to see that. When they showed the tidal wave coming through, what does Sabrina do? Oh, she shouldn't have saw that.
Yep.
So they were constantly protecting Wen. Now, the Eric character was mostly empathetic to everything. Even prior to, like you had the flashback scenes, he was the empathetic character. Where Andrew was the one driven by anger and hate that always clouded his judgment. Because even when he shot and almost killed Sabrina, they had a flashback where Eric's telling him, "Your anger, your anger, your anger." So he's constantly telling him how his anger he always lets his anger control him, which kind of swayed how he didn't believe anything that was happening. Because remember, for him, is like, F the world. It's all about my family. So I don't care what you're showing me. Whereas Eric was like, after the planes went down, he was like, hold up, this is real. This is really happening. And the first thing Andrew would do is like, well, you have a concussion, so it's your concussion. So immediately he would go on the defensive. So he was always that character. No, Wen, she did an amazing job. I mean, it's hard. You get these rare roles where you get these kid actors who come in and they capture and captivate the viewers to the point where you want to see a little bit more of them, more what they do. Like, that scene where basically Eric told her, hey, remember what we did at, was it Thanksgiving? Do the same thing. And she's like screaming and stuff. And Leonard was like, no, calm down. He's trying to calm her down. And the whole time he's like, yeah, you got a big dude. Calm down. Calm down. His back turned. That's where they try to escape. But yeah.
One thing I want to say before you continue, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Andrew's performance too. He had me believing, these guys, they're trying to pull something. So
yeah.
You know what reminded me a lot for some reason, and I kept having to pause it to see who the actor was. You reminded me of Eric Bana for some reason.
Yes, he does a lot. I thought it was him at first.
Some of the side views,
literally thought it, and I'm like,
Eric Bana.
I'm like, no, Eric would look a lot older right now. That's not Eric.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm like, no, but he looks a lot like Eric Bana.
I thought it was Eric Bana the first time I saw it. I was like, oh shit, Eric Bana's in this film. I haven't seen him in a long time.
So the one thing is when I saw this movie, and we've talked about this before. I mean, I may not go to church, but I'm Catholic. I mean, I'm still religious. I'm gay, but I'm still pray to God and believe all this stuff. So off the bat, I figured out they were the Four Horsemen. Like literally, like as we're watching this, I'm like, they're the Four Horsemen,
I mean, deliberately too. It's not subtle.
It's not. Well, I mean, at
first maybe.
Yeah, but like when the choice, the whole thing, I figured that out. But then most of all, I sat there and I imagined what Adam and I would have been like in this situation. And Adam is a lot like Andrew, but so am I. I'm a lot like Andrew, but I still always go back to my beliefs and, God and all that stuff and seeing signs and believing in the apocalypse and all things like that. So when Redmond went to get killed, as Eric had looked up in the reflection, looked what to be an angel, basically. Because when they showed the flashback, they also discussed the religion in here. Eventually, the religion is it's very subtle, which I loved because I'm not a huge fan of just pounding religion in. It was kind of really subtle in there. But you saw that Eric was still going to his religion, you know, and that's why he was believing all of this. These are all signs. And any of us who are of faith know when we see things, you know, we believe those to be signs. And so that's why when, you know, guys, if you have not seen this movie, like stop because, you know, we're probably going to spoil it. But
Probably.
so, you know, as they're giving them these choices, the horsemen show up and they're sitting there telling them, you have got to make a choice. And this choice is you have to, in order to stop the apocalypse, one of you has to be sacrificed. The person can't kill themselves. Literally, one of the little things they tell you. So one of them has to basically offer themselves up to sacrifice to stop this apocalypse. So you knew, like, as you're, for me at least, a person of religion, as you're watching it, and I peeped that Eric saw an angel, that Eric was Eric was seeing these were all signs. I think there was bugs in it too. Wasn't there some bugs that were popping up, which is in that locust in the apocalypse?
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there were the, you know, the signs of the end of the world. So again, guys, the four horsemen show up. They've got to come up with who is going to sacrifice themselves in order to stop this.
I have a lot of friends that are attorneys, and attorneys are problem solvers, and you saw him just trying his heart out
That's right.
to solve the problem, and you could tell he didn't want to pull out the attorney card, but he eventually did. And he had to justify saying, okay, well, people act this way, people act that way, because he was a human rights attorney. And it's frustrating. You know, attorneys do get frustrated when they can't solve, you know, that they can't solve a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, I forgot to mention that about Andrew.
That's
but
true,
that
he
I thought that was very
Yeah.
I thought that was very realistic.
Obviously, it's hypothetical here, but if it was you and your family that they knocked on your cabin and you were given this choice, what would you do with this choice? And Bryn, I'm going with you first.
Well, I guess this is going to sound morbid, but you know, say I don't have a lot of family, but okay, my boyfriend, you know, if he was here, if my brother was here, there would be no question. I would say I would need to be the one that has to go, because I am not a parent. They have kids and they need to be there for their children. Even though, like, my boyfriend's kids are grown, they're always going to need their dad, and they're going to, you know, they're starting to have grandkids. They're going to need their grandfather, and that would be there's no question that is my choice.
All right, JR, what would your choice be?
Well, my choice would be obvious, but I will have, hey, listen, I'm going to sacrifice myself, but before I go, can I sit down, at least watch Halloween one last time? You know, let me watch Halloween, let me watch Michael Myers, let me have one wish.
Leonard's going to be like, no, sir.
No, I mean, like, come on, just one last time. Give me this. Let me watch Halloween one last time, and then you can Michael Myers me all you want, you know. So I would tell my wife and my daughter, look, take my daughter out the room. Then I would basically piss off my wife enough to make her want to stab me or whatever way she wants to kill me. But she's a nurse, so chances are she'll revive me.
It'll be quick.
No, she'll revive me a couple times to make sure she kills me more. But without a doubt, you know, I would sacrifice myself, no hesitation.
You got 4 people barging in. You don't know who they are. They don't even know each other practically. And they've got these crazy ass claims. What are you going to do? Now, once they start killing each other in front of you, that's like, whoa, these guys are serious. What's going on? But it's a tough question. But the fact they made them a same-sex couple with an immigrant, like child,
literally, yeah.
So from their point of view, no, this is hate. This was targeted. But
Yes.
they're saying no. So I love that. Like that, it just gives everyone a reason to be worried.
And the way it was done, actually, he handled it flawlessly.
Yeah,
because it was, you know, when they specifically were like, we did not know that you guys were same sex. Like, we just want you to know that.
if I'm on the other side, honestly, like I'm gonna be apprehensive as well. I'm like, no, like, we're not just gonna what? You know what I'm saying? Without proof, but once you start seeing all this weird shit happening at the same time, but will you do it? Now, if we had to do it, and it depends on the situation. It's tough. I'm not gonna say it's easy, but man, I at first, I would be like, nah, chill, papa. We're killing Ricky Grimes today. How about you, Joe?
For me, honestly, because I would have gone the Eric route. So me as Eric, which I am, I would have been like, you have to do this. I sacrifice myself. You're the one that's going to have to do this. Thankfully, I watch horror movies, so I can tell Adam what he's got to do so I can be done quick, so it's not going to hurt me. But, literally.
Well, it's easy to shoot you in your shoulder first by accident. Oh, shit.
Adam would totally mess it up. I mean, honestly.
I would,
Adam, like, I would be sitting there, like, I'm still bleeding everywhere going, can you just get the vital points? I mean, like keep missing. Like, come on.
It had all of the phenomenal elements of what a film should be. The stakes were so high, and it started out with what I learned once is called the Russian piano technique. Like when pianists they're taught Russian pianists, they start out and it started with a boom, and so it caught your eye. And I've always loved M. Night Shyamalan. I do have to say I wasn't a big fan of The Happening, but
literally, Rick, is that your bottom one also?
Yeah.
That's the bottom. I mean,
yeah, I couldn't. And then I was kind of with Unbreakable. I was kind of, but
Joe loves Unbreakable.
Oh, really? I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, on top of horror fans, we're big comic book nerds. So, you put the two together.
Gotcha.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm good.
No, that's okay. No, interrupt me anytime. But yeah. And what I've always loved about M. Night Shyamalan is, so many filmmakers, they use either, the typical sci-fi or horror to deliver super important messages. I mean, especially you go back to the original Twilight Zone. I mean, so much about that was they were able to put in, conflicts about the Cold War. But I really feel that, you look at Sixth Sense. That was about communication, how there's such a breakdown in communication between people. And then you look at Signs. That was about struggling. I mean, it really wasn't about the aliens. And, so much it was about struggle, it was about struggling with your faith.
Yep.
And finding your purpose in life. I mean, you look at Joaquin Phoenix, it's really interesting. He was going nowhere in life, but with the whole, aliens, with the aliens that you saw, that kind of gave him some sort of purpose. Assumptions. People a lot of the times make assumptions that, okay, this person, they didn't say hi to me when they went to make a copy at work. They don't like me. Like this couple, they thought they were being targeted, and which couldn't have been further from the truth. And I think too, it also too, it just, gosh, it's so hard to wrap everything around it, but it just, it just shows the different types of people in life, and that there still is good in the world, because the four horsemen were willing to, they left their lives, and they were willing to sacrifice themselves.
Yeah, they did.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's still good in the world. And so that, I could go on and on, probably right up after species about this film. But I think those, just so we're not here all night, those were my two biggest takeaways.
Nice. I love intimate films. It's just a cabin, and you got all these characters thrown into this big clusterfuck, man. Like we got one set having visions of the end of the world. The other set is like being like they're invaded by these outside strangers that have these weird like fabricated weapons that they made themselves, and
Those are
they're
scary
talking
weapons.
about,
What are you talking about?
huh?
Those are fucking scary looking ass
Yes.
shit. Yeah,
And
they weren't rare. They were scary.
They're talking to me like, no, one of you guys, between the three of you, and mind you, this includes a child, have to sacrifice yourselves. You can't do it yourselves. It has to be someone killing the other in order to prevent the end of the world. And at the same time, like, wait, what? No. And so it's a lot. I love shit like that because it reminds you of like Night of the Living Dead. We got all types of people trapped in one house fighting off zombies, but at the same time, they're fighting each other. That's the real conflict of the film. So here we got these sets of people fighting each other when they shouldn't be. And I mean, man, like what else? What more do you want? The ending was, of course, one of them sacrificed themselves. We think we got a happy ending, but how about all the people that lost their lives in the process? I mentioned that plane scene earlier, man. I don't fly much anymore. I don't fly at all anymore right now. I used to.
I got to plan a flight to go see you guys.
I used to, but seeing stuff like that makes me think, man, that's what my anxiety is telling me. Don't get on no plane, but it's scary stuff. And the tidal waves and like the especially us going through this pandemic recently with the whole sickness coming into it. And I love when Andrew was like, no, that's been around for like how long now? Now that, so you don't know. You really don't know, man. I just love the conflict. And Dave Bautista as Leonard really, to me, carried the film because this guy here, he's, again, a big guy, but his background in academics and his leadership skills and the fact when he was trying to build that rapport with Wen early on, it's such good material. And he knocked it out the park, man. I love strong leads that go outside the box. It's not your typical hero. There's no heroes or villains in this movie. It's just people that get the situation just thrown onto their lap, man. And how do they react to it? You know what I'm saying? So
that calls. What are you gonna do?
Exactly. You don't know. You got people who believe, those who don't. They're butting heads, and like we've said. It's like they're living in this echo chamber of like hate, fear, paranoia. Like the couple immediately thought they were being targeted. No, that wasn't the case. It's so much. It's so many layers to this. And you mentioned the angel near the climax of the film. So again, I loved it. 4.5 is going to be my score for it.
Okay, so my closing thoughts. Yeah, the cast, the great cast. Bautista as Leonard and Wen, the best two characters. I like Eric. Mindhunter. I'm massive fan of Mindhunter.
You got me to watch that show.
Yeah, and it's just and I'm gonna gloat a little bit here because the fact is lately we've been doing a lot of story character driven horror movies. So I'm gonna go a little bit because that's something that these two usually weren't big fans of, but we've been
M. Night.
We've been slowly getting into it a little bit.
You're right, Gia, but also keep in fact, I'm talking about movies that are like 2 hours and plus.
No,
I don't like.
How long was this one?
About 2, right? Hour and 45. What is it, Joe?
No, I think it was an hour and 45.
Let me see.
Yeah, Rick has
an hour and 40 when I was watching it.
Rick has an hour and 30-minute timeline.
No, I don't like long movies, man. I just don't.
Not for horror.
So you don't like Gone with the Wind?
No.
No. Here's the thing, though. Hold on.
And the ironic thing about the pandemic in this show is when we went through the pandemic with COVID, the target was the elderly. That pandemic targeted kids.
Yeah, good shot.
Yep.
I mean, it was targeting the ones that people were less fearful of getting sick. He was like, you know what? I'm going to target the kids in this one just to see how people feel with the decision that these two didn't make.
Mm-hmm.
But, and the angel showed up twice. There was a second scene with the angel. So if you go back,
that. All right, I got to
go back and watch it. And if I'm right, this dude was the one that seen the angel.
The second time?
The second time they're outside is when Bautista is basically giving his monologue, and he looks like this. Then you see the angel fly across the screen.
Right?
I do know that scene.
I missed that.
Oh, I didn't even think about it putting it that
which
way.
helped him make change his mind so
I
much.
gotta see this again. I missed
Yeah, me
that.
too.
I'm on 3 for this one, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you 3 will walk alone in the world and have to witness your decision and what
which
you
is
did.
go ahead.
No, what you chose to do by letting the world die for you guys.
Yeah.
4.5. My only gripe, it's a little small one.
What is it?
Is-
Because he literally texted me, I have one small gripe. And I'm like,
Jesus.
what the fuck? Like,
A
what
little
is, and he doesn't even tell you.
a little bit is
He will now.
certain flashbacks in this movie were there for a good reason. Certain flashbacks, I feel like,
Unnecessary. I'm M. Night fan. You guys know, like, he already has a handicap with me when it comes to ratings. I mean, so he's always going to get that bump with me because I like what he puts out. It's first of all, it's never the same thing.
By the way, you mentioned this film is anamorphic earlier. I think the way it was shot, they used Panavision for this.
Yes.
Bro,
Really?
great choice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. That's
Okay.
why, and that's
Camera
why
work was brilliant in this
Yes.
film. I just wanted
Yes.
to point that out.
That's what I'm saying. He purposely focused on the size of Bautista.
Oh.
At the same time, giving
sorry.
Bautista the ability to act
Yes.
to minimize what his imposingness is actually like.
He used, for Batista's character, Leonard especially, he used a lot of Dutch angles when he's talking, especially to Wen, if you notice. That's to show his state of mind that he's in. And like, he bro, I'm telling you,
That's
man,
the
like-
motherfucker right there. He's a great one. But so here's the one thing for me, and it was curious because I was really waiting. This movie had no twist.
Good.
Every M. Night movie has a twist. You spend the whole fucking movie looking for what this twist is going to be. There's no twist. It's a choice. I mean, it's dropped on them.
Yeah.
You know, when you realize that the horsemen have to start sacrificing themselves, I mean, there's no twist there. This movie was basically just based on them having to make this decision. So I loved that it was my first M. Night movie that I did not have to try to focus on little subtleties, like on the fact that the hand, you know, didn't leave a mark because there's no humidity to it because he's actually a ghost. You know what I mean? It was awesome to have a movie that this was all carried by every single actor that was hired for this movie. It gave you emotion. You know, I thought when Adrian made her plea, like saying, I'm a mother. Like, I'm a mother. I have a child here.
And they still didn't believe him.
Right. So, you know, each one of them humanized themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, victims humanize themselves. All of them were a victim in this because they heard the calling, the voices to bring them here. So it's not like they all said, all right, yeah, I'm going to go and join these 4 people and give this family. They heard a calling. And I'm going to give this one a 5. Again, I bumped this one up. But the 5 is basically because there was no twist to look for. It was, they're going to have to make that choice.
It's just straightforward, bro.
Straightforward.
Good call, man.
Straightforward. Absolutely fucking love this movie. I'm glad we got to do this because I thought that just because I had done it for the Fiends Zone that we might not have done it together. All right. So before we wrap it up, actually, before we get to your list, Bryn, just tell us a little bit about yourself. And also let us know about the Connecticut Film and TV Alliance. Give us some information on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I refer to myself, I'm a quirky SoCal native, and I am a full-blown sushi addict. And I'm
Sushi.
yes.
We went out for our birthdays in New York for sushi. It was the one thing I asked for when we were there. Sorry.
Oh no, I live for sushi. And yeah, if I was the one that sacrificed myself, I would have said, okay, no, I got to go and get the love boat at Hanami one more time. So, yeah. And so, and I feel that art should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. That is basically what I've always felt about art. And so I'm before anything else, I'm an actor, but I've worn tons of different hats. I've produced. I have been a casting associate. I've written, been a script supervisor. I think I did sound. I somehow ended up doing sound in another short film, and I never done sound before.
That's not fun.
Yeah. And yeah, I've also been a PA. So, which brings me to, the Connecticut Film and TV Alliance. So basically, any filmmaker will tell you, yeah, there is not a lot of support, and there's not a lot of communication in Connecticut. And in my opinion, Connecticut is the redheaded stepchild. It's ridiculous. We have some of the most lucrative film schools and media, you name it, acting schools. We've got Yale, we've got Quinnipiac, we've got Sacred Heart, UConn, so many. And then, like Connecticut School of Broadcast. There is.
We have a place down here in Florida.
Oh yeah, that's right. They do have. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. But it's so sad, because when these individuals get out of school, where are they going to go work? I mean, okay, there's either WWE, or there's ESPN.
The Steve Wilkos show.
It's still on.
What?
It's Stanford.
It's still on, really?
Yeah, in Stanford. Yeah. They don't do Jerry Springer, but Steve Wilkos is still there.
He
And no Maury
yeah.
either. No Maury either.
Right. Yeah. So I've, basically we're going to be meeting at the state capitol tomorrow. Let me back up a little bit. So this whole movement was started by Jonathan Black. He has a production company called Chair 10 Productions that's run by himself and his wife. He has decades of experience in the industry and mostly was in LA. When the pandemic hit and they had little ones, they needed family support. So they thought, okay, Connecticut, they have family out here. And yeah, he couldn't believe that there is hardly any opportunities going on. I mean, we have, like the horror, we have like the Hallmark films and all that. So he basically started hustling and meeting with senators and, all kinds of different Connecticut lawmakers. And we had a meeting with the state capitol back in February. And that's when I had kind of been introduced to him. And so I just reached out. I said, is there anything I could do? And he says, no, just show up. And so I did show up, and I popped my mouth off because there was some pushback coming from, I'm not sure who this individual was, if it was a lobbyist or what, but just really negativity, a lot of negativity, and just, I hate to say this word, but I don't know how else to describe it. Just, they were poo-pooing everything being said.
No, I can give you better words. But...
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was almost kind of like, yeah, it was, you could just tell they were just doing their job. Because there has to be some sort of opposition. But yeah, I popped my mouth off, and I didn't, I just mentioned briefly that I was an actor, but I just said, I've been in the States for almost 10 years now, and have met so many talented people in this industry, DPs, directors, writers, sound people, set dressers, you name it. And there's no work for them. And so I have, I just started hustling, trying to find work. And yeah, there's independent films here and there, but unfortunately they are a lot of the times not filmed under the best conditions, it's on a shoestring budget. And so we are losing talent left and right. They're leaving the state. And then you have a lot of individuals, these actors that owe student loans and whatnot that went SAG, but they're having to go FICOR because they're not working. So yeah, that kind of, yes, that kind of stirred the pot a little bit. So yeah, Jonathan asked, he asked me to come on board, and we have a couple of other members who are awesome. Bob Dio, he is an instructor at Connecticut School of Broadcast. Ed Cohen, he's works a lot with music production. And then we have Cindy Clancy. She is a retired public defender, but she caught the acting bug. So we all kind of just, said, okay, what are our strengths? How can we help? And I said, well, you know what? I said, I'm not any guru, but I said, I'll run the social media. So I've been doing all of the social media. And then we've just kind of been working on getting, locations and getting, just telling people, speak up, please speak up. Your testimony matters. So we really pushed all this week for people to submit their written testimony. And you can actually do that until 8:00 this morning, or I'm sorry, not this morning, tomorrow morning. And then we're meeting with the state capitol tomorrow because they did present us a bill. And of course, they only gave us 5 days to gather all the testimonies, and so, yeah, I'm going to speak tomorrow. I've read a lot of people have shared their testimonies to me, and a lot of it's just heart-wrenching. One individual said that they just completely lost themselves. They were drained because they had this great job at the down in New York, but they just were working long hours. They were tired, and so something's got to give. And then at the same time, too, we have so many great places to film, and having a better, film and tax credit that could, bring in so much revenue to the state. Yep. We have lost millions of dollars over the years because, Atlanta introduced, a better film tax credit. New Jersey, we're losing productions left and right to New Jersey. All this money can be poured in to support local businesses that are still trying to come back after COVID. And it's going to create job opportunities for everybody. And there's job opportunities for everybody in the film industry. We need accountants, we need health and wellness professionals, we need plumbers, you name it. We need, everyone's needed. So it's going to create more jobs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's basically it. We have our statewide alliance meeting at the Cadillac Ranch in Southington this coming Wednesday at 7 p.m. And we've had so many RSVPs. I know some of you guys are going to be coming. We've had tons of RSVPs. I have talked to so many talented people that are frustrated. Quinnipiac, I have a lot of recent graduates from Quinnipiac that they're struggling to find work, and it's, yeah. So I really, at this point, I don't see why they wouldn't pass this bill. There's absolutely no reason. There are people that do consistently film in Connecticut, but they do it because they know they can fly under the radar, and they know that they can fudge not just SAG, but they can fudge union rules, and they know nobody, no one's going to check on them, especially like SAG New York is not going to come up all the way to the city to check on a SAG film. They're not going to do that. Most likely, if somebody calls and complains, they're not going to do that. Now, okay, if it's a network television show and they're breaking SAG laws, you better bet you bet that SAG's going to be there in 2 seconds. But yeah, and so that's another thing. I don't want to mention any names, but yeah, one of the companies that has been flying under the radar was their project was shut down, and everybody was like, well, what happened? I don't see them doing anything else. And then finally, they're filming again, but it was just kind of hush hush. They posted on social media, well, we're back after a hiatus. And I said, no.
Hiatus.
Yeah. And like I said, it wasn't, from what I understand, it wasn't SAG rules. It was crew union rules. And yeah. And that's the thing that just is so infuriating to me is crew members, they work so hard. Oh my gosh. And every member, of a crew is so vital. I mean, you look at like AD, they hold all the responsibility, like the insurance, everything. You look so, and they're the ones that, they're working like 16-hour days. And I mean, I'm most of the time when I've been on a set, I'm an actor. So there, a lot of times we're sitting around, but I will go and offer to help. I said, what can I do? I don't mind helping out here.
We got to get your top 10 list.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, we got to get your top 10 list.
So my top 10 is the Birds.
Joe. Wow, already
already we're good.
Yeah. And then do I say anything else about it?
It's up to you.
It's up to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've always loved Alfred Hitchcock. And yeah, it's another movie where it wasn't even so much about the birds. It was about how people fight against each other. Like there's that scene that where that lady says, they say that this all started when you came here. You're evil. And then she slaps her. Yeah.
I'm gonna throw a twist on you.
That is a good one for Alfred.
The Birds is really about controlling a strong woman and domesticating her, because at the end she was quiet and domesticated.
Yep.
That's an interesting take.
Yep.
That is
Facts.
Yeah. And I know Alfred Hitchcock kind of like was
a very controlling and masochist director.
And I heard that okay, this is just something I heard, but I heard that he was also kind of awkward with women.
Yep.
So
Yep. Number 9.
So, and then number 9, the original Psycho.
Wow.
Another movie about control. I mean, his mother controlling him, Blair Witch Project.
That's
me too, though. Oh, I love that movie.
Right. It, to me, it was super low budget, and they kind of, it was very improv.
Yeah.
But that's what made it so realistic. And then that last scene to me was just terrifying.
And for that time when it came out, there wasn't anything like that.
No,
by the way, because they're from Florida, the filmmakers. So
really?
A lot of, I want to say they were UCF. I want to say they graduated from UCF, but because it was Florida, we were getting a lot of advertisement here, and the way that it was done, it made it feel like it was actually real.
I remember that. Like, I remember, back, when I actually listened to, before Sirius and I left it, I listened to FM, I would hear the advertisements and I'd be like, this seems like it really happened.
That was the dawn of viral marketing, I think.
Yeah, it was. It was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yep.
Number 7, Silence of the Lambs. To me, it wasn't so scary that he was just this cannibal. The scariest thing to me is that he could look at any person and he knew exactly everything about them. It was, and then at the same time, for whatever sick and twisted reason, you still rooted for him. He was a likable person.
You did. That's true.
Yeah.
Fun fact: George Romero, my idol, had a cameo in that movie. So
really,
I'm going to look for that.
Number 6, The Ring.
That's more JR, I think, right, Joe?
Mm-hmm. That's JR.
That's JR.
Or international.
Come on, who doesn't love that? I mean,
let me tell you something.
With
that one shot with
the
young teenager in the closet and the face she had. I mean, even to this day, still haunting. When I first saw it when I was younger, I couldn't sleep. That face that was burned into my memory, man. Great scene.
Yeah, I think after that movie came out, they invented DVDs, so nobody those VCRs anymore.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, to me, also is like, okay, you know, I knew I was watching a horror film, but I'm like, okay, what is The Ring? And then it was like so surprising what The Ring
Yeah.
was, and just the images of that
Mhm.
girl, the way that was shot was so terrifying to me. So number 5, Alien.
Ooh, yeah, that is a horror film.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember growing up, it wasn't so terrifying when the, you know, alien jumped out of, you know, that guy's chest. What was
Ash.
what was so terrifying to me is that the very ending when Ripley was all alone with the alien. And that was so, I mean, okay, I remember I was in elementary school, I think, but that scared the hell out of me. And then I was just worried about, you know, was the cat okay? So
I'm always worried about the
cat,
animals.
That fucking
in the
cat
film.
got a lot of people killed, though. I just gotta say.
right, I know it. I know.
Yeah, as long
I
as the
was worried
cat
about
survived,
Jonesy.
I'm all set. I'm good.
Jonesy,
Yeah.
Jonesy, yes, Jonesy.
Jonesy.
Yeah, that cat
Yeah.
got people killed.
Number 4, it's Poltergeist.
Oh,
Just the first one. The other two were the other ones were
okay.
really hokey.
The book is awesome.
Yeah, that was.
Toby Hooper did the original.
Toby,
right?
yep,
Right?
yep,
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a
But
classic.
that book, if you read the book after you watch the Poltergeist movie, fucks you all up.
Two things. The clown scares me in that film.
Oh, I
And-
hate that little
And I
clown
mentioned it
dog.
before. The little when they're at the end of the film, they're in that ditch and it's raining and the water rises and you see the skeletons coming up.
And
That
they used
always
real
got me.
cadavers. That
So
came out.
yes, there was the use of
Yes.
real cadavers. Yes.
Yes.
And none of them knew that.
You can never
None
get
of
away
them-
with that right now.
Oh god, what is? I can't remember her name right now. Fuck. But she didn't know when she did that scene that she was going to be doing a scene with real cadavers.
You know, just there's so much mystery, you know, because, you know, that little girl, you know, passed away, Heather O'Rourke, and then Dominique
Pneumonia.
Dunn ended up, you know,
it was part
being-
of that shit with her stalker.
Yeah.
There was the poltergeist cursed.
Number 3, The Exorcist.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's his favorite film of all time, right, Joe?
Yep, that's my number 1.
Yeah. I mean, I have always been like intrigued but absolutely terrified of Ouija boards, and I don't, you know, I don't think people should be messing with them.
I'm the same way. I can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah.
I've done it. so.
Right. You know, especially at the end, you know, when you see Reagan and, you know, how's that girl ever going to be the same? And yeah, it was
Think about that. Her head did a complete 360.
right.
How does her neck not break?
I don't know.
I never thought about that until now.
No.
What the hell
Yeah.
is going
And
on?
poor
What
Father
kind of beer is
Karras.
this?
Poor Father Karras.
Harris, yeah.
Look out.
Number 2, The Shining.
Yay.
Yeah.
Another good
Master
one.
class right there.
Yep.
Man.
Yep.
Yeah,
Talk
it's
about camera work. Woo!
oh,
But and it's funny because it's the least of Stephen King's.
He
He
hated
hates
it.
that movie.
He hated it.
Out of all the movies that have been done out of his work, that is his least favorite.
right. And I mean, yeah, I mean, and you know, who doesn't want to watch anything directed? You know, I mean,
Kubrick?
Kubrick is his genius.
Yep.
And I think I remember Stephen King saying basically that book was struggling with addiction because he admitted that he had a very serious drug problem. Number 1, Rosemary's Baby.
Oh my god! You love that movie.
I do, and
love
I
that
have,
movie.
you know, there's so much mystique with that film too, because I mean that apartment building ended up burning down, and then I mean I know Roman Polanski is definitely, you know, had
Yeah.
he, you know, he's had his issues, but at the same time, there's so much about his life. I believe he was a Holocaust if I'm not mistaken, he was a Holocaust survivor, correct? Or he
It
had
was his
family that had,
I think it was his
Yeah.
family.
right. And then, his wife being murdered when she was pregnant. But that movie was, it just, everything about it was just so good. And it was just, it took you in, like, they always say, like, put a frog in boiling water, and it just gradually, but it was such just a small little build, like, those weird ass neighbors, and then her husband, making the pact with them, and then, all that, those goofy like tannis root shakes, and and then, at the very end, when you actually see just
Baby.
and then no matter what but Mia Farrow, she wants to love it. It's her kid.
Yep. All right. Well, that is a really probably one of the
Really,
best
really
lists.
Joe's favorite list.
Yeah, probably one of the best lists that popped up. On
Oh,
here, to be quite
awesome.
honest
Okay.
with you. Yeah, it's
So
one
many
of the
Joe
best ones.
favorites on
Oh
here.
yeah, for sure. All right, guys. So, Bryn, thank you for joining us.
Thank you
That
for
was
having me.
a really great list.
Yes.
Hopefully we can see you again. We'll have JR set something up.
Oh, great. I'd love to. And I
All
won't,
right,
I won't
guys.
talk so much next time.
It's all right. Listen, I'm the big babbler in the group. So, all right, guys. So that wraps it up for our Knock on the Cabin. Make sure to hit subscribe. We can supply some information on the Connecticut Film Alliance for you guys.
We'll have the link in the description.
We'll have it down there.
Fantastic.
All right. So until then, next time, make sure to join us where Rick takes control again. And I don't start out so nervous in the beginning, and then a couple of years, I'm actually doing good right now. But so make sure to.
It ain't that easy, see?
It is not easy. Actually, you know what the best part was? I made moderating notes and then realized I don't have to talk about anything else.
No.
So like it was. So no, it was fun. But like I said, because I did already the review, and I wanted it. It was great to hear somebody else's perspective, and you guys plug out some of my own thoughts. So join us next time when we're back again. We'll let you know what movie we're doing. Until then, as Rick would say, stay scared.